Bismillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, amma ba'du. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabar pemirsa? Saat ini Anda kembali dalam sebuah program Ketika Hidayah Menyapa. Sebuah program yang mengulas tentang perjalanan seorang manusia dalam menemukan cahaya Islam atau dengan kata lain menjadi seorang mualaf. Baiklah pemirsa, saat ini saya persis berada di Taman Suropati, tepatnya di sekitaran Menteng, Jakarta Pusat. Saya hari ini sudah berjanji dengan Ali Camarata, seorang mualaf asal Amerika Serikat yang akan saya temui dalam episode kali ini. Untuk lebih jelasnya, mari ikuti saya.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا وقعت الواقية ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت هباء منبثا وكنتم أزواجا ثلاثا فأصحاب الميمنة
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Yeah,
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How about we can start further discussing in here?
Yeah,
Okay. Brother Ali, so how are you today?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah.
So
Yeah.
where do you come from?
Originally-
From your house or some station in here?
Oh yeah, I came from my house today. Originally, I'm from the U.S., but living in Indonesia. Yeah.
Okay. Brother Ali, can you tell us about yourself and your activities in advance before?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in the U.S. and of course I converted when I was about 17 or 18 years old. Now I live here in Indonesia and we have a foundation that tries to help people. I'm living in Tangerang where we have the
So
Asuna
what
Foundation.
foundation?
The Asuna Foundation.
Isuna Foundation.
Yeah, the goal is charity and dawah and trying to work one neighborhood at a time and to focus small scale but to be like more personal dawah and charity.
Okay, where is the base of the Isuna Foundation? In Jakarta or
In Tangerang, which is outside of Jakarta.
in Tangerang? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother Ali, when since do you arrive in Jakarta?
More than a year ago or so. Yeah.
What years, maybe?
It was the end of 2013. Yeah.
2013, yeah.
Yeah, and then around that time. Yeah.
So you came from US or some country or?
Yeah, I grew up in the U.S. and that's where I lived my whole life until moving here to Indonesia recently.
Okay, Brother Ali, can you tell us about before you work or starting your organization in Jakarta? Where do you work before?
Well, I worked in the U.S. I did different jobs growing up, and then in Virginia I used to be a manager, and then I started working IT, both in Arizona and Virginia. Again, we moved back, where I did computer programming.
What the company name is?
I worked for a lot of companies. A lot of times it'll be 3 months at a time, but I worked for Apple and other companies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a big company, yeah?
Yeah.
So are you are engineers or IT or some?
Yeah, my main field is IT, yeah, for computer programming.
Okay, Brother Ali, if I'm not mistaken, you are a former United States, right?
Yeah.
Can you
I was
tell us?
I was in the army for about 3 years or so, and before I got out, and I converted while I was in the army actually.
Why or when since do you join it in U.S. Army? What years?
I joined in the U.S. Army while I was still in high school,
Oh, nice.
and it was also about a year after I joined the army, or the end of the year, that I became Muslim. And then after I became Muslim, I was in the army for maybe about a year and a half or 2 years after that. And then when it came time to leave the army, you know, they usually want you to they usually call re-up or to renew, but I wanted to get out and do normal job and everything. And then at that time I had moved. I was already converted by then.
Okay, Brother Ali, is gonna be, it is true that you are a Christian before.
Yeah, I grew up my whole life since young, being raised as a Christian. I used to go to church every Sunday with my grandma, especially, which was a Lutheran church. Um, Throughout high school, I didn't go as much with her to church, and there was actually a part in high school where I was debating between atheism and Christianity, especially during our biology.
Atheism,
Yeah.
not agnostic.
No, they had a biology teacher when they talk about evolution, and he used to specifically say that, look, evolution is like this, so Christianity must be false. So around maybe 15 years old, I consider atheism, but I still have my Christian upbringing. And it was actually around the time that I joined the Army that I reevaluate and I realized that atheism is a very shallow belief, that it has a lot of holes in it itself. So I realized that God does exist. And it was around that time that I returned back to Christianity. After joining the Army, I went to church, I talked to a few of the pastors and such, and that's at that time I became like a born-again Christian, or renewed my faith in Christianity. But this is before I ever knew about Islam, and it was around the same time that I joined the Army that I also become like a born-again Christian and start reading the Bible every day and practicing Christianity more intensely, because I was raised upon it, but in high school that's where I went through my own phase of finding it again. And then it was after the military that I really start practicing it more and reading the Bible every day.
So that means you are a default Christian, yeah?
We were raised Christian. I didn't know anything else.
Really?
After realizing that atheism was wrong, you have a desire to be close to God and to worship God. That's natural in every person. So when I realized atheism was wrong, the first thing you turn to is Christianity. And I believed wholeheartedly in it, but I had never learned about anything else. So I went on for about a year reading the Bible every day and being a strong Christian. But eventually, at one point, that's when I started looking into other things to see, first of all, to confirm whether or not Christianity was right, because I had never known of anything else, but also to see if the truth was elsewhere.
Okay, Brother Ali, we all know about the accident of 9/11.
Yeah.
So if that accident could affect you,
Yeah,
for,
actually,
for any section.
yeah, the events of 9/11 affected me a lot. I was already in the military before 9/11 had happened. So of course, when 9/11 happened, there was a lot of my friends that were also in the military. It was a big thing for us because prior to 9/11, being in the military didn't mean that you were definitely gonna go to a war zone or anything like that. After 9/11, everybody understood that that was the case. So it was a big deal, especially being in the Army, more so than for other people. It meant that it may affect my future. And obviously it was an emotional event for the country. But it was after 9/11 that it was the first time many people even heard the word Islam. Many people grow up their life and they may hear it in a movie, they may hear it mentioned in the news once in a while, but it's the type of thing that you almost ignore or you don't notice. After 9/11, there was no way that you couldn't notice about Islam. It was in the news every day, and especially negatively. So it was actually maybe the months after 9/11, you heard a lot of negative stuff about Islam in the news, but it wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 months after 9/11, I was actually doing a school project, because while I was in the military, I was still in my last year finishing high school. So I had a school project and they said that it should be very unique and you will get a good grade. They wanted creativity. So I decided to make one about 9/11 and even Osama bin Laden. The game was like from a military perspective that you roll dice and at the end of the game you kill Osama bin Laden. That was the game. And actually as part of that game I wanted to make pictures. So I went on Google. I wanted to research and find some pictures. And actually it was on Google when searching the word Islam and searching the word turban and other stuff that I first came across actual articles and websites that had real information about Islam. Not just, there was many websites, but one that sticks out to me that I remember, because this was more than 14 years ago, was islamguide.com. And it was the famous book in English, A Brief Illustrated Guide to Islam, and it has pictures and everything. It was actually that website that had a paragraph that said, Islam is the religion of God since the first of mankind, and it was the truth from God revealed to prophets like Noah and Abraham and Moses. And when I read this, and it said, and Jesus and the final prophet Muhammad, and when I read this, I said, wow, I never knew. Islam believes in these same prophets that I already believe in as a Christian. And then I told myself, if I didn't know this basic information about Islam, then I hate something, but I don't even know what it is. So if you don't know what something is, you can't hate it. You're hating what the media says, but you're not really, truly hating Islam. So that caused me to first start reading. I clicked on that link, I read the whole page, and after that I became more and more curious over time.
Oke, pada lika ini stop pada stick teman ya.
Yeah.
Oke, baiklah pemirsa, demikiannya tadi sekilas perbincangan kita untuk segmen pertama ini. Kita akan segera melanjutkannya untuk segmen kedua nanti. Jadi tetaplah di Ketika Hidayah Menyapa.